Hello and welcome to another episode of Drawing Conclusions. This is a show where I sit and talk with influencers and industry experts, where we talk about IPs that touch us, that move us, that create fandoms. While we're talking about these things, I draw pictures. My name is Randall Hampton. I'm the author and illustrator of the Little Game Master series of children's books. I'm also a contributor here on Geeks Like Us. I'm super excited because today I have a special guest, Dr. Megan Connell, and we're going to be talking.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about Critical Role.
I'm so excited.
It's your turn to roll. I'm so
Ah.
excited. This is a big thing for me because Critical Role is really what brought me into the D&D community. To be honest, I stumbled across it on YouTube one day, and I went back and I watched all the back episodes, and it really motivated me to get back into playing the game. It motivated me to write the children's book that I've been writing, and thankfully, in no small part to Critical Role, I met the people here at Geeks Like Us.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Well, Critical Role is why I started doing therapeutic D&D in a lot of ways because
Okay,
so
hold on. We're
yeah.
going to get to that.
Oh,
Hold on.
sorry.
First and foremost, before we do anything else,
Yeah.
Dr. Megan McConnell, those of you, people in the Geeks Like Us community, everyone knows who Dr. Megan is. But Dr. Megan, for people that may be watching elsewhere or on YouTube that haven't been quite been introduced to Geeks Like Us, tell us who you are.
So I am Dr. Megan Connell. I'm a therapeutic dungeon master. I'm the co-founder of Geeks Like Us. So Randy was contractually obligated to have me on the show, but I mean, it's just how
Once
it
a
is,
season. Once a season.
I am the host and creator of a YouTube series that we do called Psychology at the Table, where I talk about psychological disorders and how they might manifest at the table, and how dungeon masters and other players can be helpful to their friends, not become their therapists because that would be inappropriate, but like if someone's having a panic attack, how you can help your friend in the midst of it other than going, I don't know what to do. I'm also the dungeon master for our live play D&D show called Clinical Role. So little play on that, which is super fun. All of my players are other therapeutic dungeon masters and other psychologists. So it's not a psychologically themed game, but we do talk about psychological themes, and like every now and then something will happen and one of the players will be like, I'm reinforcing your behavior and stuff. So we're weird like that. And yeah, I'm a therapeutic dungeon master. I play D&D with women and girls to help build up resilience, empowerment, and teaching communication and collaboration in a positive manner through play.
Fantastic. So there's a couple of things that we're going to ask you here before we get started. I'm excited. I'm very excited to talk about and to draw Critical Role, everything, like anything to do with it. I'm excited about this because I'm a fan. I'm geeking out a little bit. First and foremost, why are we talking to you about Critical Role?
I have seen every single episode. I've seen almost all of the Talks Machinas as well. I've seen all of their one-shots and spin-offs. I absolutely love that game. I love the entire cast, the storytelling. It's what got me into D&D. I am a huge super fan. I have props with me today of things that I have, like I back on Kickstarter, and I have minis that I have painted of different
Oh,
characters and I've had fun with. And from campaign 1 and 2, it's my little Pumat here. And I have a little Pikey. I love this show.
oh,
There it's an amazing show too because the cast is so connected with each other. They're not afraid to be vulnerable with each other in the characters and the role play that they do. And so it really allows for some honest discussions on feelings and hurt feelings and just different things. I feel like we're going to have to give the like spoiler warning up until episode, I think they're up to 112 was the most recent one that just aired.
Spoiler
So
warnings abound. We're not putting up any walls.
yeah.
I'm sorry. We're gonna
Nope.
talk about it all.
Yeah.
First campaign, second
So if
campaign, we're digging in. So if you haven't
yeah.
seen it, catch up, and then next year after you've caught up, come back and watch this.
It's so good. It's just such a good show.
Yes, we are both definitely fans of this show, and we can both definitely scream and holler from the rooftops about it. One last question that I always ask every guest that comes on here. Here at Geeks Like Us, we are unapologetically enthusiastic about our geekery. We like all the things that we geek out about. We are unapologetic about it. We you know what? I'm sorry, not sorry. I love this. This is how I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
If you were to go to a newly discovered, hidden island somewhere out in the Pacific, and there's an indigenous people there that has never had any contact with the outside world at all. What 3 pieces of geek life are you bringing with you? It could be a book, could be a movie, could be a video game, could be whatever. Something that's all about your geekiness that you feel so strongly about. What is it that you want to bring with you to introduce to these people?
Definitely dice and the core rule books for D&D.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna run some games and I'm gonna teach that.
After
I like
you get
that
over
you
the
put
language
in.
barrier.
Well, but you also put in a very interesting twist there, so I get to do a plug for something, which I'm excited about. Because you said in the Pacific, and a module or not module, like an expansion book for 5e is coming out called Santa Una, which is actually based off of Filipino mythology and legends. And so it's using Filipino culture to show what a druid would be based upon their culture rather than European. And so I'm really excited about that for when that comes out. I think I might be getting to play test it soonish too, which I'm super duper excited about. So I'd bring that too, because that's a good way to bridge a lot of the Pacific Islands have some similarities in their mythology. So it could be a good way to help bridge that gap as well.
That's one.
So, that's just one? Okay.
That's
I get
D&D.
more.
I'll say D&D is one.
Yeah, I'm bringing all of D&D with me.
All of it.
That's a whole trunk.
Except 4th edition.
Yeah. I probably honestly will also bring Harry Potter. The books, not the movies. The movies can go away.
Oh, really?
I don't like them. I don't. Like there's some parts I like. And I actually was just reminded of this. A friend of mine is running a Harry Potter themed D&D game, and they're trying to figure out like drills and things that they would do in Quidditch, which reminded me of the Quidditch World Cup PS2 game, which I put many hundreds of hours into. So I include that there because that was a super fun game. Yes, the graphics were terrible. It was PS2, but it was so much fun to play because you unlocked signature moves for each team, and so you could do things like bounce the quaffle off the ground and catch it and then spike it through. Oh my gosh, it was so cool. So yeah, Harry Potter would be number 2, and then I got to go with granddaddy of fantasy, J.R.R. Tolkien, and bring The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Maybe the Silmarillion. I've never been able to make it through that book though.
Silmarillion's rough.
Silmarillion.
It's rough, but there's a lot of beefy, thick, beefy lore in there that I love. So
there is. So maybe like if I'm not distracted by YouTube and Twitch and everything like that, I would actually have the ability to focus on it and get through it and share that passion. Like I've watched a ton of videos on the lore behind it. There's a great YouTube series called The Men of the West, or a channel called Men of the West, and they do break down. I love that. I love learning more about like Tolkien thought so much.
I've watched Men of the West. Yes. Silmarillion, Tolkien. I love Tolkien and Hobbit, and I'm actually gonna start. I think I'm gonna start reading The Hobbit with my oldest son here pretty quick, because for the first time, I think he'll enjoy that. The Silmarillion, I equate reading through the Silmarillion with trying to read through like Heart of Darkness, or The Metamorphosis. Those 2 books, when I was in high school, I remembered reading through them, putting them down, and saying, "Okay, I need to read them again because I don't understand what happened," and having to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again. That was my issue.
Well, one of the challenges for me is so I have a reading disorder, which commonly would be called dyslexia. So proper nouns don't stick in my head very well, and so any names that are similar, which Tolkien did that all the time, like family names only changed by a letter. I could not tell who was who or what was what, and it finally just hit a point where I was like, I don't know, like, who is this person again?
Sure.
I couldn't follow it. So
Hey, that's no fault to you. Okay, so we're actually gonna start talking about Critical Role now. We'll talk about Tolkien again. I think we've actually discussed that about if we go over Tolkien, you're gonna be my guest again for that one.
yes, I'm down.
I think you've
down.
already put the marker down on that one already, which is good. That's
So
cool.
before we jump into this, I have got to tell a funny mom story here.
Okay.
My son has a good friend whose name is Eowyn, and he was asking me something about like what I thought of something. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't know them at all. Like, I know their parents must be super cool, so that's fine. Why do you think their parents are cool? It's like, they gave their kid a nerd name, right? He's like, what do you mean? My son's favorite movies are The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Oh, and he didn't put two and two together?
Put it together.
Oh, wow.
So
that's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So
that is a cool. Though they must be cool people. I remember. I have one matching story for you, and it has absolutely nothing to do with real people. I remember me and my now wife when we met in high school and we dated in high school, but I remember she had a project in high school where she had to do like they had she had a child and she had to plan out expenses and stuff like that. But she asked me, she's like, what should the kid's name be? And I told her Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, and she didn't know what it was, but she did it anyway. I was like, yes.
Nice.
Awesome. Cool. She put a lot of trust in me.
So your first fake child was named after a video game character.
Yeah. Our actual children did not get that though. However, my youngest child his name is Caleb. Nothing to do with Critical Role, but a good coincidence.
Right, because your child came first.
The child did come first, but a good coincidence nonetheless.
Yes.
So we're going to start talking about Critical Role now. What I'm going to do, I've got a lot of fun stuff to do here. So we're going to, I'm going to be working on this print that I think will be fun. I had this idea in my head of the two teams, the Mighty Nine and Vox Machina, kind of clashing like Avengers style, going at each other. So I'm gonna be toying with this. I started off with Grog and Yasha up on top, just because they're the big beefy barbarians just going to town, and so I'm gonna start with putting down very rough character shapes and things like that, and get it in here. This may be one of those things where this piece gets started today, and we may have to do a time or two. Like maybe this time we're going to talk about Critical Role as a whole. Maybe the characters, the people that are running the show, kind of the backstory. We can even get into a little bit about fandom with this, because there's been a lot that could be talked about with that. And then maybe on another one we specify, that we're going to talk about Vox Machina. Another one we're going to talk about the Mighty Nine, and maybe with a little bit of the overlap that's going on, which is a lot of fun.
Yes. Oh,
so I'm going to be throwing these down, and I'm going to be playing with layout and stuff like that. But while we talk about this, let's start with you. We're going to ask you the question. Where did you start with Critical Role? Did you stumble across it as they started in Craghammer at the very beginning, or did you come on later and then go back?
I went... How did I find this? Okay, so I'm a big, humongous geek and nerd. I got really into, it was right after my first bio kid was born. I got very, very much so into the Vlogbrothers. And I really liked that. And Hank Green was filming on set for a show he was doing with Will Wheaton at Geek and Sundry. And then I was like, I want to see this. What is this? And so that happened to be the Ashes of Valhalla, the Fantasy Age series that Will did there with Laura Bailey as one of the players, Hank Green, Yuri, I can't remember his last name. I don't remember the other player's name. I'm so sorry for that. I should have been prepared. But it was an amazing tabletop role-playing game, and it reminded me of playing D&D when I was a kid. And so we actually ordered the Fantasy Age book, and I ran a couple of Fantasy Age games for my family. And then on Geek and Sundry, I saw, Critical Role, and it was like 4 hours. And I'm like, oh my God, why can't they edit this down? Because, Wheaton series, they played for a long time, but they edited and cut it out and put art in between. And so like it was very, very accessible to watch. And so I just started watching with the Journey to Craghammer because it was uh, a good thing to watch while I was still, I think I might have still been at home for maternity leave. But then like I just got really into the story.
Sure.
And so I caught up live pretty quickly. I think they were only like 10 or so episodes in.
Oh, okay. So you're OG.
Yeah, was watching. I might have been watching live when they came up with the term for the Critical Role fans of Critter.
Okay.
So like it was very cool to watch this and watch along with it. I did the Twitch subscription on Geek and Sundry so I could watch it because I'm on the East Coast, so it is on incredibly late for me.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
I do stay up and watch like the first little bit usually, but I'll start nodding off and falling asleep, so then I'll catch up the next day. But yeah, I've been watching since that original arc and just enjoying it so much. And it reminded me of why I loved playing D&D. My family started playing D&D again, and that's when I started having these insights into, wow, this could be a powerful therapeutic tool.
Oh.
And so that's sort of the origin of me becoming a therapeutic GM. And then, the kind of the tilt of the hat, the homage of our show Clinical Role, came from this too of I wanted to build relationships with the other therapeutic GMs I knew, and having another meeting was most definitely not in the cards for any of us. We did not want to sit down and chat for an hour a couple times a week or once a month or something, because like none of us would have made time for that. But I know there's a few things I know about psychologists. One is we are terrible at self-care and doing things for ourselves. And so I suggested that we all get together and play D&D, and we agreed to stream it because we felt that would increase our likelihood to turn up. And it's been a blast and so much fun. And we've been playing now for almost 4 years. I think we started in 2017.
Wow.
So yeah.
I did not realize that it has been going that long.
It has. Yeah. I'm really excited because we started playing and I had the first little mini arc planned of like, let's just see if this works. And then once we were getting a feel that it worked, my husband and I sat down and figured out like who the big bad evil guy of our whole campaign would be and what the story was behind it. And now like we're finally years later getting to the point where that starts to get revealed, and it is so much fun.
Yeah.
to reveal those things.
So for those that are watching, in I think it was like January or February of 2019 is when Rachel Cohort, who is one of the players on Clinical Role, contracted me to do a poster for the series. I think that was right. It's like it's
around then.
First quarter last year. And so she wanted to have the actual players as the characters, so like have their faces and stuff like that. So that's actually how I got introduced for the first time to Clinical Role, to Geeks Like Us, to the whole kit and caboodle. So that's actually kind of a fun little way, and here I am now working with you guys and being super psyched about that. But
yeah, oh, it's so much fun. I love the community, and like that's the big thing with Geeks Like Us is we want to build community.
Yeah,
and build that place for fans to come together and be unapologetically enthusiastic, to be like, I love this show so much, it's so cool, and just to completely geek out about it and to love it, and just not have to say like, I'm so sorry, I'm freaking out. Like, this is a space where you don't have to say sorry, you just get to freak out and enjoy it.
Yeah. When I started Critical Role, I think I literally stumbled across it on YouTube one day. I just found some random. You know what? I had originally watched through the first season of, or the first campaign of The Provokers, which is it's just a group of guys, a bunch of different people that have contributed to DM's Guild and things like that. But they found a common bond. They all loved, D&D, and they wanted to play a game. And they recorded it and put it up on YouTube. And I really enjoyed it. They were shorter videos. They're like 2.5 hours per session for them. And I was like, oh, this is fun to watch, actually. I'm enjoying this. And so I started searching for other live plays. And I stumbled across Critical Role. And the time that I stumbled across Critical Role was when they had just been attacked by the Chroma Conclave.
Ooh, good place to jump in.
That was like the first episode I watched was when Iman was attacked by Thordak and the Chroma Conclave. And I watched this and I was like, well, a couple things. One, it reminded me of the campaigns that I had when I was younger, when I was a kid with one of my best friends. He was our DM and he did big fun stories like that for us, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, this is bringing back some nostalgia. This is a lot of fun. And then I was like, oh, they've got like a backlog. There's so much to watch. How do I catch up with this? I mean, I'm an artist. I work from home, so I've always got music or movies or something going on in the background. So it was easy enough for me to catch up, just having YouTube going on the side screen and me working here. But I was watching it, and it was bringing back all the feelings that I had from when I was in high school playing with my three best friends, and I was like, oh, this is so much fun. So I got into it again. I started DMing a game for the guy that was the DM before. I started DMing a game for him and his wife and a couple of our friends. We all got back together. And so that was a ton of fun. And I think it was one day I'd come home and I had my dice bag in my hand, and I'd set it down, and my oldest son saw it, and he's like, what are those? Because he had never seen them before, and I was like, oh, these are for a game that I play. He's like, what game is that? And I was like, how do I explain this to my kid? And so them inspiring me to play the game again, in a way, got me to write the children's book, The Little Game Master.
Oh, that's awesome.
So thanks so much to Matt Mercer and the whole crew for doing what you guys do and inspiring the people around us, because he did that for me. We know that it's an inspiration, that Critical Role itself has been a huge boon for the D&D community.
Completely.
It has brought tabletop gaming to the forefront of popular pop culture today. With everything that they're doing, Critical Role has exploded. Their fandom and their following is enormous.
They sell t-shirts and I mean, like, Critical Role t-shirts are being sold in Hot Topic.
Yep.
Like, a show that has virtually no graphics.
Yeah.
Right? There's no script. There's no fancy, headliners or anything like that. And it is a 4-hour show people are dedicated to and want to sit down and watch and care about it. And like, when campaign 2 started, I actually wrote an article on why I love it so much. And one of the things I love is that there are no spoilers, because nobody knows what's going to happen. Matt Mercer has this plan and he walks in and then the cast goes, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Right. As players do, because that's what players do. And it's fine, but it's just so interesting to see the things that they do. And in this, this most recent episode, it's just so cool because you could see Marisha Ray working so hard to put all these little fragments and pieces together that Matt laid out for them, and her kind of getting the small threads and weaving it together, and just there's so much delight. That's the thing I love about the show, I think, is the delight that the players experience.
It's really fun because I can relate to that on two levels. As a player, I always love piecing through the little bits that my DM gives me and putting the story together. Like, it's so much fun. And seeing other people do
Yeah.
it is just as much fun. As a DM, it is pure joy to watch it happen. If it's the correct thread and they've got it down pat and they're figuring things out, and to see the lights click on, that's pure joy. And if it's completely wrong anyway, that's still so much fun to watch.
It's still, I think some of my favorite things have been like when I plan for them to go over here and I've put all the clues to go over here, but that they figure something out over here, and I think that's better. That goes, the first idea goes away and I go the other direction, like, completely. And like, I think that for me, like, that was, it's so hard sometimes watching Matt Mercer as a DM because he is so good at it. And it's not necessarily that he's good at like all of the story planning and everything. That most certainly he is. I'm not taking that away, but like, the thing he has that is so powerful, I think, is his improv.
Oh, sure.
And that, like, the players come up with something and it's like, like, very, very rarely does he say, I had no idea you guys were going to do this, I'm making this up. Like, I think there have been he's done that a little bit more recently, which makes me think he might be being a little bit conscious to say that and let people know that he also gets surprised by his players and has to come up with things on the spot. Like when they were getting ready for TravelerCon and they decided they need to go kill a dinosaur for dinosaur meat to feed everybody, right? It's like,
so
I don't have this stuff ready. I didn't know y'all were going to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
It's great to see that, but like, it's also can be really intimidating because like, I felt like I needed to have everything absolutely planned out perfectly as a DM, because that's the illusion that you get with Matt Mercer. I think he does have a lot planned and he does know his world incredibly well. But like it can cause this kind of fear of like, oh God, I have to have a world planned that well, and learning that you don't, like, is so important.
Here's the thing that I'll say about Critical Role, about what's known now as the Mercer effect.
Yeah.
And the Mercer effect is exactly what you're talking about. As a DM, not feeling like you're up to the standard of what Matt Mercer is. Hearing players say, oh, you're no Matt Mercer, that kind of thing, is such utter bullshit. Yeah. And I say that because Matt Mercer is, not only is he's a fantastic storyteller, he's also he's a professional actor. He's a professional voice actor. You know, he gets paid to go into studios and produce these voices at a quality that is far beyond anything that most people can do. It's what he's paid to do. It's what he's worked his entire life to be able to do. To hold yourself to that standard is just unrealistic, and it's completely unfair to yourself. You should never do that. Secondly, when a player says that to a DM, it's ridiculously unfair. And if I was that DM, I'd say, yeah, well, you know what? I don't have Matt Mercer's players either. Because Matt Mercer's players...
Yeah, that's the rebuttal I've seen.
That's absolutely the rebuttal, and it's the correct one. Because Matt Mercer's players are also all professional actors and professional voice actors. And they contribute more to the story than I think with their improv than most of us realize. Matt Mercer will absolutely admit it, and he embraces it. And that's one of the fun things about D&D in general is this is a story that you tell with the people at the table with you. You know, you're sitting down together and you're doing this together. This is a communal storytelling. This is something that should be embraced, and like everyone should feel the joy of contributing to the story and making it. Some people, maybe that's not what they're there for. Maybe some people just want to, you know, hack and slash and loot. If that's what you're there for, and as long as you're having fun, cool. Yeah. But don't complain about who the DM is or if he's not up to the Mercer standard. That's just unfair.
Yeah. It's a good rant to go on too, because like it can scare people away. But I think like that idea of the trust between the players, because like that's the other thing that I love so much about this show is like what the players do and how they go about doing things. Like, God, it's so funny because like Sam Riegel, like is completely ridiculous and hilarious. You know, like he is so funny and just like doesn't take a lot of things seriously. And it's easy to see his characters as just being throwaway jokes. And the fact that he does things as throwaway jokes and like, but he doesn't.
No, not
Like,
at all.
with in campaign two with Not, and she, you know, she abused alcohol. And the the group tried to do an intervention to stop her, which they did it passively by like just hiding her alcohol and trying to take it away. And like it was this thing of it seemed like it was just a joke of like Sammy like my character's always drunk. But like when she finally got to explain why she drank, it was so freaking powerful in this gut punch where she said like I go in ahead. I go and I look for traps. I go and I make sure it's safe, but there's nobody making sure I'm safe.
Right.
And so
Which
this is my shield.
You know what? What's
Yeah.
amazing though is looking back at that now. Not the character who is now Veth, who now
Yes.
we've seen the backstory now. It's brilliant because the entire time, Not was this protective mother character, looking out
Yes.
for Caleb and watching over Caleb, and then the other characters in the group. The entire time, Veth, who's this character who has had this horrible trauma of leaving her family, leaving her son, and not being there for him. She found that coping mechanism, I guess, with looking over Caleb and stuff, and like looking back now and seeing from the first episode going forward, it's like, oh my gosh, it was there the entire time. That shows you how good these players are.
Oh my God, they're so good, and like, they're just amazing players, and I love watching what they do. I think, actually, Brandon, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to turn the tables on you.
Sure.
So, what is your favorite from campaign 1 or 2, either moment or story arc?
Oh my gosh. I loved the Briarwoods in campaign 1.
Yes.
That was so much fun. That was a lot of fun seeing Percy dealing with that trauma from his past and being able to confront it, and then realizing that his way of confronting it was yet something else he needed to confront. Because his idea of vengeance was just so self-destroying in a sense. He was he was eating away at himself doing that. That was really interesting and a lot of fun to see. I really enjoy Bo coming to grips with who she is in campaign 2 as a member of the Cobalt Soul and becoming an expositor. I love seeing her growth there. That's a lot of fun for me too. So those are two of mine that are like one little story arc with the character arc that I'm liking, but the story arc of the Briarwoods I loved, and I'm so excited that they're gonna make a cartoon about it.
I know it's gonna be on Amazon soonish.
So a couple years maybe.
Oh no, it's supposed to be next year.
Next year?
Yeah, it's supposed to be May, I think.
Okay. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was their on Kickstarter. I think that was when they originally said it would be used May 2021.
Right.
And it's been picked up, and like my understanding was COVID did not put it too far behind.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see. I think the biggest challenge that they're trying to figure out is like how they're gonna release it early to all of the backers.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest thing with the backers is don't they get a physical copy of it? Is that part of it?
I don't think so. I think it might be that. I thought it's a digital copy. I don't know.
Oh, maybe it's a digital copy. I don't know.
I think it's a digital copy or something. I don't know. Please see Kickstarter for more details.
Yeah,
yeah, I love that arc. I think there are 2 episodes that are my absolute favorite. One from campaign 1 and one from campaign 2. The cows episode from campaign 1.
The cows episode is just absurd and ridiculous and so much fun.
Oh my gosh. Like it follows that logic of like just because you can do something doesn't mean it's going to be helpful. Like with Caleb's doing, like I can't speak with animals to talk to the cows. It's like, okay, cows are not intelligent. Like,
No.
where does this thing come from? The sky. When? When it's dark. Okay, yeah, but like when it's dark? Dark.
Yeah.
And just seeing them like just how ridiculous that all was. It was so much fun. And then the other one I absolutely loved was from campaign 2 was Laura Bailey and the cupcake. Her
Oh
jester and the
gosh.
cupcake.
Oh, with the hag.
Yeah, that was
That
so
broke the internet. That broke the internet because
yeah.
people were like, "What?"
Yeah. It was like I love that like so many people were trying to intervene and do something else and like Sam and Taliesin knew what she was doing. They're like, "No, let her do her thing. Let her do her thing." And then just like it's sort of a thing of like everybody else was playing chess with a hag and she certainly was playing checkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I mean checkers and she was playing chess. Sorry, backwards. Um oh,
Yeah, I know
it
what you
was
did.
so freaking brilliant though of just the thing of like it's her like going over like, oh my fingers, I am breaking the cupcake. Do you want some? It's like, okay, I put the dust of deliciousness on it, and now I'm casting modify memory. And like it's
That
such a
was
good DM move too, though, to be like, okay, my player outwitted me there.
yeah.
And that is, and to celebrate that, not to get upset and angry.
Okay, let me ask you a question real quick, and
Mhm.
I'll give you my take on the same question because it absolutely relates to Mercer. How do you view the player's role in the game? Like, what's their job in the game? Like
They
I don't know if I'm phrasing the question right to how I want to. Let me tell you how what let me give you my
okay.
perspective first, okay? As a DM, my job is to make sure that the players are heroes. Okay?
Hmm.
No matter what character they have, no matter what they do, no matter what action they take, that action is heroic. It's big, it's grandiose. They should as players, they should feel excited and amped up about all of their decisions. I think they like, whatever it is, they should feel heroic in doing it. Their characters are the paragons of these worlds. All the other people, like even at level 1, you're more impressive than an NPC goat herder. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So they should be heroic. They should be big. They should be grandiose. Do you follow a similar kind of mindset, or how do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it?
It may be different for
I
you
want,
because of how
yeah.
you view gaming
And
as a tool.
yeah, I think it is in many ways because I see in many ways D&D as wish fulfillment, right?
Okay.
Like I just finished up a level 20 campaign where I was playing a bard and uh one of the things I was so excited about with this character was to get to a point where I got to make ridiculous performance and persuasion type roles because I'm a musician. I'm not very good, partially because I don't practice a ton. I got very, very burned out on music in college. Um, but also just I was wanted to be good. And like I did practice a lot in college. I probably practiced I at least did my half hour every day. Most days I was doing an hour, hour and a half of practicing.
Okay.
And I just couldn't quite get to where my skill to where I wanted it to be. And so like that's just it's okay. That's not everybody. And so I wanted to be this amazing performer finally and like to have that chance to be somebody who could just walk into a room and own it.
Okay.
And that was like a really big wish fulfillment for me. And like I think in a lot of ways this stuff is too because like in the world right now with so much going on, I think we all feel completely out of control. And so having this ability to be a character who can influence the world, I think like I don't see it as much as heroics as I want you to be able to make a difference. And I
Okay.
want you to feel like your actions matter and they matter greatly. And as you also also matter. And like it can kind of play back on itself where it's like, okay, my character and their actions can matter. Maybe me as a player, I can matter too. And find using in Sarah Lynn Bowman's term of bleed, of feeling what your character feels and learning how to bring that into your life and growing emotionally through play. Yeah, that's a lot of what I do and talk about and stuff.
Sure.
As far as like the story and everything, the way I see the role of the characters is my job as the DM is to create the framework. And then the characters fill in all the detail work. I used to do the frame and the detail work, and I do not feel like that went very well.
Okay.
My Please go to YouTube, watch my early episodes of Clinical Role. I was not a very good DM. I was still learning and growing. More recently, though, I feel like I've gotten a lot better, and I've learned how and when to say yes and when to say no, or when to use the yes and or the no buts.
Okay.
And those improv tools. And so like my notes and my prep for the game is much more bare bones. And actually speaking back of like the Matt Mercer effect of about I think, gosh, it might have been a year ago now, they had to take an unexpected week off. And so one of the things he did was he released on the internet his notes, his session note prep notes for the week before. Oh, something happened. Discord stopped.
Discord stopped?
Discord stopped. So I can't see what you're drawing anymore, which is so beautiful.
Is it back or no?
Not yet.
Saying
Please hold.
Okay, my video is not working, so because we're using video from somewhere else. It's still up. Oh?
It is still up. It's like trying to connect somehow.
Okay. Oh, now it's down for me.
We'll give it a second. It's okay.
Give it a second. We'll get back up there so you can try and do that. Oh, there's my error yelling at me again. Okay. Let me try this again. No, go away! Ah! It's still yelling! Okay.
Oh no!
I don't know what happened there, but let's we're gonna go ahead and we're going to close that. Okay, I just want to exit out of Discord altogether. Never mind. Well, we're gonna have to show you this as we go a little bit more later. This is how technology in the end always ends up biting us. It's fine.
It's okay. It is totally fine.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, so we're talking about like the role of the players and things. So like when Matt Mercer released his session notes, that notably was the episode that Chris Perkins was a guest player on, with the best guest appearance ever of playing Spurt the Kobold. I've gotten to the honor of getting to talk with Chris Perkins a few times, and like his DMing style is really, really fun, and he is a player who just will take stupid risks because he doesn't care if his characters die. And like he has this thing of like he actually will actively try to kill all the players at his one-shots at conventions and things, because he's like, come on, having your character killed by Chris Perkins is a good story.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
It's very fun. But like one of the things that I loved in Matt's session notes was it was very bare bones. But something he did that I have since started doing for myself was he had a couple of key phrases, like the fact that the kobolds were going to refer to the party as noisy food. Like it's such a great line. And like, so that's something I've started pulling in for my own development of NPCs and world building and things. And that's been really helpful. But like, I really do see it as like, I tell the players that there is a room and they tell me what's in the room. And I've even gone beyond that now of like leaning more into the players to build the world. Like even tonight I was running a game and one of the players was saying, we were visiting the ruined village of where one of the players grew up. And they're like, I want to find a memento in this house. And I had them roll for it. I was like, okay. You find this person used to dry herbs and they would wrap them up in a leather thong. And at the end of the thong, they would have the special insignia that was their insignia. Tell me what that insignia was.
Ooh, okay.
And I have the players build it. And like I got to do a one shot for Jasper's Game Day, which is super fun. Awesome
Mm.
organization run by Fenway Jones. She's an amazing person. Please check it out and support them if you can. They do wonderful work. Um, but that was like how I built the world. It's like I gave them this framework, said, okay, here's a city. There's this higher cliffside, and that's where all the castle is, and that's where the rich and wealthy people live. You all live at the lower city, or we call it down below.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately started coming up with like all of the things that those people up in the up above do, because people hate being, separate groups. It's like, oh, we're
Sure.
gonna fight, right? But then it's also giving them like, okay, who's somebody at your guild that's that guy or that gal that y'all don't like, right? And like build them out for me. Help me understand who they are, you know, um, what drives them, and that stuff, and starting to get them to play in and work off of each other and to build together. And it's like when you can do that, when it's like, okay, I have this guild, I need some people at the guild, I have an idea for the captain and I have an idea for the squire, tell me who else is there. And like, um someone was like, oh, my brother is the bookkeeper. Cool, there they are. And it's like I kind of imagine it as almost like there's these mannequins that are faceless and shapeless, and then
And
as the players
they.
are saying things, suddenly they morph into something, right? And it's our communal imagination and world building together that really works. It's a technique that I actually use with my youngest kiddos, where I do tell them D&D stories at night sometimes. Not as often as I would like, because I'm streaming or working most nights, and so I have to quickly read a story and get down to whatever it is I'm doing next. Um, but we'll do a thing of like, okay, your characters are going into the forest. There's something special and unusual about this forest. What is it? It's a candy forest. Okay, we go into the candy forest, and there's cotton candy trees, and there's this, and ooh, what's the river made out of? Right? What kind of liquid is in the river? Because it's not water in a candy forest,
No,
right?
it
And then
can't be.
yeah, it's hot chocolate. All right, it's a hot spring that bubbles up, and it's really fun because one, with kids, like that's their imagination, and like they come up with way better stuff than I'm ever going to come
Oh
up
yeah,
with.
for sure.
um and it's super fun, and it shows that idea of cooperation and collaboration. Especially younger kiddos, like with play, sometimes kids can get very focused on like, this is how the play has to work, this is what it is, rather than what might it be. And
Okay.
so trying to build that in, and like ping ponging back between my kids and being like, okay, kid one, tell me about the trees. Kid two, tell me about the river. All right, cool,
Mm.
cool. And there's a monster coming. Kid one, what kind of noise do you hear? Kid two, what do you smell? And they kind of build off of that, and we learn to cooperate and tell a better story all together. And so that's really at the heart of what any tabletop role playing game is, not just D&D. But that's what I love about it so much. Is like, I don't know what's going to happen.
The,
I get to see what's going to happen.
yeah, the reason that I even brought that up is because I feel like with Mercer, it's very much the same thing. He wants a good story. He wants the
Mm-hmm.
people at his table to be involved as much as possible, and he gives them every opportunity to impact and affect the story like that he can. He lets
Yeah.
them just make the decisions on what's going to happen, where they're going to go, where everything sits and stands at the end of the day. He has his narrative. He has his story that he
Mm-hmm.
wants to tell. He has his end game. But he absolutely lets them, and that's a great. Watching Critical Role is such a great training tool for anyone that wants to DM a game.
Yeah.
He works the yes and, he works the no buts. He lets the players fill in the gaps, and then he's just entertaining as hell to watch.
Yes.
So it helps you look at how to run a game, and the tools that you need in your tool belt for those certain situations and stuff. It helps. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, everyone gets better with practice, absolutely, and the
Yes.
more you do it, the better you get. But he's one of those, and there are other shows that are out there. There are other live plays where the DMs are fantastic as well, and you can watch them and you can learn so much. We're talking about Critical Role, so we're going to talk about Mercer.
Yeah.
He helps you find those tools so that you can better affect your game at home.
Yeah. Well, what I love is, especially from campaign one, before they had all the sponsorships and everything, his maps were hand drawn. He was using,
Yeah.
he was just using construction paper to hide
That was
things.
so great. Like before he got
And
in
like,
with Dwarven Forge,
yeah,
he had the big sheets of like the white paper from your kids' elementary school art room where there's just a
yep,
big roll. They just pull it off and tear it. And
yeah.
you can see him at home with a yardstick and a pencil, gritting it out.
Oh, yeah, yep. And like, I loved that because I think had I started watching and seeing him using all the Dwarven Forge, like in campaign two, I would have felt even more intimidated of like, oh God, look at how good the set pieces are and it needs
No,
to be this. But like, no, it doesn't.
it
It
doesn't at
can be
all.
construction paper and it can be those dry erase or use wet erase on gaming boards, not dry erase, wet erase.
Yeah.
um, and just like it's okay. And like you can make super crappy drawings and they can still spur the imagination. Um, and like gosh, there was an episode of Clinical Role where we did some world building, and so I had Dr. B come on, and we built the city that his character grew up in,
Oh, that's
and
fun.
it was super fun. And the map we made was awful. It was terrible, but a wonderful member of our community, Lori B, she does maps, and she made it for us and she
Oh, that's
drew it
awesome.
and beautifully, and it was like both of us were like crying when we finally saw it. It's like, oh my God, this is these little blobby things where we wrote, guards live here and wizard tower fire. um she just turned that into this beautiful thing, and like that's such a wonderful thing around this. And like one of the pieces that I love so much about Critical Role 2 is all of the fan art
Mm-hmm.
and just the love that they get. Like I said, I brought before we started, I told Randy I was grabbing props, and like, like I got eh, the big old art books for campaign one, and like,
I want one. I want them so bad. I've never pulled the trigger. I want them, but I've never pulled the trigger on them.
that, look at that,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Um, and I love the fact of getting to see all this art that people have done and how far, far they've come with everything. I'm going to get pulled into this book if I keep looking, but like I've got both of these ones. And then I'm getting the next one, the campaign 2 one for Christmas, which I'm very excited about.
You can't see this right now, but the people in chat, when they watch this, are going to be screaming at me, no, why are you doing that? Because I just deleted 2 layers because I just didn't like how it was
Oh,
looking, so I'm starting over again.
oh no, that's okay.
Because
That's
our
the beauty
Discord
of the
app,
digital.
because my Discord quit and now it won't let me reopen it at all.
Which is fine. It's okay.
Wait, are we back? Is it letting me do stuff? It's not doing letting me do stuff. It's not letting me do stuff.
It's okay.
I'm gonna have to reboot my system to get this back up and running. Oh well.
Don't worry about it.
All right. Sorry, thought I'd try one more time. Okay.
Yeah. Well, but like, I have like the minis, and I've gotten into mini painting, and like there's Keyless Cloak. I love it. I got critiqued a lot when I posted this on Reddit. They're like, you didn't use the right technique for brushing it or whatever. I'm like, I had fun.
Man, why does everyone have to just take away your fun? Why take away someone's joy? Why do that?
Yeah.
Why do that? She had fun painting that mini.
Yeah.
Why you gotta
Like,
be like that,
here's
huh?
my little pike. There's a little pikey.
Yeah, a little pikey poo.
Pikey. It's so much fun to paint, and like, there's just so much wonderful stuff with this, and like, they tell stories that I think in a lot of ways are really important. Because like, learning to get along with other people, learning to find family, learning how to face your weaknesses, and that you're not alone. Um, it is really, it's really important. Um, like even tonight, in a game, our warlock wrote a note to their patron, and they're like, "Why didn't you help me in this last fight?" And the patron wrote back like, "Look around you." And the person, they just leveled up, so like thinking that it meant the spells that they had just learned, and then like I had the patron right after that, like, not what I meant, and the other players are like, "Your patron means us. You have friends. You're not alone." Let's go, yeah. I feel silly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's to bring it back into Critical Role though, like that's such a part of this too, is the community. Like when campaign 2 started, I was watching it live with over 100,000 people on Twitch.
I remember that. I remember watching the first episode of the second campaign and seeing that the Twitch count, like the number of people watching, it was insane when it capped over 100,000 or whatever it was. Before that, every episode was easily in the 30,000-40,000 people watching
Yeah.
every single week. And even that is amazing and insane that there's that
I
many
mean, like,
people.
yeah, I mean, you think about like a sports game, of course, millions of
Sure.
people are watching that, but like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like there's excitement and like all these things. What we're watching is people sitting around a table telling a story. And like there is something so I think it's a basic human need for story. Like I've been reading a book called Wired for Story actually that I really highly recommend to anybody to check out. It's a book written for authors, but talks a lot about the neuroscience of like why our brains want stories. Like you're told that 100, like 100,000 people die because of something, and it's like, okay, our brain can't understand that, but you're told the story of one person, and we are deeply moved. And so
Mm,
it's like our brain cannot comprehend these big numbers on this more basic emotional level. And so it's story that is so important. And this is something like, oh, I'm about to get on a little soapbox here, so I apologize. But like
no.
it it boggles my mind. The scientific community, specifically psychologists and neuropsychologists, we're the ones studying this. We understand that the human brain does not accept facts and figures. You go and you start spatting stats and data and all of this stuff at people, and they just glaze over. They cannot process that. But when you tell them a story, they process this. And like why we cannot communicate scientific knowledge through a story when we know that is how people learn, is to take what we know and to weave it into a narrative. That's what's going to change hearts and minds, and that's what we need to do. And it's so frustrating that it doesn't happen. And like I think our need for story is why we're drawn to these games of D&D and
Oh,
why we love to
sure.
play them and why we want to, be a part of them.
When I tell people what I do for a living, I try to encapsulate everything that I do. So I draw, I write and illustrate children's books. I illustrate children's books for other people. I do character commissions in the D&D community. I take people's characters from their stories and I put them on paper so they have a visual representation. All of those things have their own moment for being a story. So like above all else, I would pride myself and I would call myself a storyteller before anything else. The community game that I do for Wormwood, where it's the people that support that company and what they're doing on Twitch and all that. They're a great group of people. They want another opportunity to get together and hang out and spend time with one another. I was like, you know what? Let's tell a story together. So I started a campaign for them that it's a rotating. It's insanity. It's literally I think we have something like 30 people that have lined up or have already played in a game.
Oh wow. So I'm gonna
And
need to take notes from you because that's what I'm planning on campaign 2 for my game.
there's still more people coming in and it's all
Yeah.
within this it's all the same campaign. Everything is happening in
Hmm.
the same country. It's all happening within the same time frame as one another. So the notes are there. But it's madness. But it's such a fun story because there's
Yeah.
so many people contributing, and there's so much. So we're really talking about D&D and not so much about Critical Role right now. But D&D is a huge part of it because that's what they're doing. They're playing D&D. Going forward, and this is actually why I wanted to do the Critical Role episode first. Going forward, I'm drawing conclusions for the next few sessions. we're going to be talking with some great, great, great people about D&D, about tabletop role-playing games, about what it means to us, about why it's so influential to us, and a little bit about how to make a game, how to make it, how to. We're going to be talking with Satine Phoenix about building theme and building a story arc. We're going to be talking with Devin Rue about world building, and she's going to laugh at me while I try and draw a map. You're going to come back on again, and we're going to talk about character building.
Yes.
We're going to have Connor from Gemhammer and Sons come on and talk, like, towards the end, and we have him come on to talk about the add-ons and the things that we can do in our game to boost it and give it life. So stay tuned to all that. But I wanted to talk about Critical Role first because it's such an influential part of this community right now and what's happening right now.
Oh my gosh, it is so much. Like it's the game. Like when people say like I want to learn more about D&D, I want to learn what it is. So go watch some Critical Role. And like I remember when I got to first introduce Dr. Ryan to D&D and told him to go watch it, he's just like, I don't get it. I was 2 hours into watching it and they weren't playing the game yet. I was like, no, they were.
No, they were.
He's like, they were just talking. It's like, yeah, that's the game. He's like, what's the strategy? How do you break it? How do you do it? It's like, no, you just play it.
How do I min-max?
Yeah.
It's funny because anytime I introduce the game to anybody, it's just like I'm introducing it to my kids. Mm-hmm. You know, you tell them, this is a game that's all about communal storytelling. It's about coming together, working together to build something, to create something as a unit. And what I love about introducing it to kids is the soft skills that you learn playing this game. You know, listening, communication. In no small sense, you learn a ton about empathy playing this game.
Oh, completely, yeah.
Negotiation, compromise. You know, being able to work with other people if you have differing ideas. Okay, how do we resolve this to make sure that something still happens in the game that's beneficial to us both or to everyone? You know, those skills that, let's be honest, most adults don't have a full grasp on are pivotal for kids. And
but think about it, like in Critical Role, one of the things that I loved that they showed was that their characters did not always get along.
Oh, no.
That there were times where they, like, you know, Scanlan in Campaign 1 took off. Like, he hit a point where he's like, I can't be with you guys anymore. Like, this isn't for me. I have to leave. And interestingly, Sam Riegel recently was saying that if it hadn't been for the slip up of being called the Meat Man, and Vox Machina figuring out back, he wasn't going to come back. Like, he's like, what Scanlan saw, he didn't want to come back to. And like that was really interesting. Yeah.
You know, here's the next question about Critical Role. Who is I'm not going to limit it even to the player characters. Who's your favorite character in Critical Role? In Campaign 1, Campaign 2, it could be one of Matt's NPCs. It could be one of the player characters.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I have such a deep love for Scanlan. It's not even funny. Scanlan brings me so much joy on so many levels.
Yeah. No, I definitely... Scanlan, I love him, but like... I adore Jester, honestly. Okay. Like, there's so much about Jester. I love that she's so loving and she's so sweet and innocent in so many ways. And something I love too, I love seeing how hard it is at times for Laura to play her. Specifically around money things, because like it's been, you know, revealed that Laura was a lot like Vex in her thriftiness, you know, that she is a huge, like, you want to charge me $50 for something, I'm going to end up paying you 10. Like,
she likes to negotiate. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Haggling is her thing. And like, so to play this character that not only doesn't haggle, but tends to just overpay for stuff because she
Yeah,
wants to make people happy.
that's against the grain.
Oh yeah, and it's so cool to see that and to see her doing that. And I love Jester's free spiritness and like just seeing her grow up and mature, but like in a way that doesn't involve being bitter. I think a lot of our cultural idea of maturity is that you have to become embittered and like see the world like become almost like Batman Gotham City. The world is dark and awful. And what we're seeing is Jester is growing up, but she's not losing her hope. She's not losing her love of the
And
world.
that's interesting too, because seeing what, if for example, what just happened with TravelerCon, like
Yeah.
that would shatter so many people's faith and so many people's belief in what the world is and what they're there to do, and to see her interact with this deity, Artigan is not a benevolent creature. He's not.
No. No. He's selfish.
He's selfish and he's out for himself, and he's just, the game. It was a game at first to getting
Yeah.
these followers. It was a game to him, and then to see, for her to see his armor crack and weaken and be broken, and to find out what he really is,
Mm-hmm.
and then for Jester to accept that,
Yeah.
and then still have such compassion and love for that character. And it goes back to when Jester was a little girl, and the traveler was her only friend,
Yeah.
and so she has this deep relationship with him, and despite his flaws and despite his his egotistical nature, he provided something of value to her.
Yeah.
And so besides seeing all the glamour get stripped away, that didn't affect her.
Yeah.
That was really cool to see, and that was a really good character moment, I thought, as well.
Oh, it was brilliant and just so beautiful. And like, um, in I think the most recent Talks Machina, or maybe two Talks Machinas ago, Matt was talking about how Jester is interacting with Artagan is changing him. And Matt was saying like I didn't really expect that, but like it's the more I'm sitting in this character's head and seeing how he's interacting with Jester and how she's treating him and what he's thinking of this, like the more I'm realizing that like she is changing him, and there's something more going on there, and like it's fascinating, and like I think it's just so beautiful and pure. Like now, granted, I probably would not want to hang out with Jester. Like, she probably would drive me crazy after a little while, but certainly she's super fun to watch and
Oh yeah,
to engage in that way.
it's that shows you that the players in the game are fantastic writers.
Oh God, yes.
Like creating the character of Jester, and seeing, as a child, her mother lives in a bordello, if you will, a brothel. Yeah. They growing up in that environment, not really being around anyone because it's the lead mistress of the brothel shouldn't have kids. No, that's
Yeah.
So she's basically hidden away, tucked away, so she can't be seen. That kind of thing. Her whole life, she doesn't have a normal relationships that a little girl might have. All of a sudden, this entity comes into her life, and has so much influence on her.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see that relationship grow as the game went on, see like Jester gets older, the traveler's there with her, and it was never tawdry either. You know what I mean? That's another thing that I loved about the relationship is this is a young influential girl, and this is this arch-fae. It's such a dick. I'm sorry. He's such an ass. But he didn't take advantage of that situation. He did, but he didn't. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
there was still a little bit of a purity to it.
No, there totally was. And like, there was some fan art that came out just like, God, this person released it, I think, a week and a half before the reveal of who the Traveler really was, which was like, this is my headcanon for the Traveler. And it's showing the Traveler with this little girl, Jester. And be like, okay, Jester, I'm going to teach you your first spell. And points off and it says Eldritch Blast. And then it's like, it shows little Jester doing this and it's, Guiding Bolt or whatever. And like, this, like, that wasn't you know that wasn't force energy, that was divine magic, but she doesn't follow a am I a god? I'm not ready to be a god. and like Matt saw that and he was just like waiting for it. He's just like, you do not know how accurate this is.
That's amazing.
That her that idea, but like that was the point that Matt was trying to make. It was like this little girl's faith in him is what gave her the ability to have divine magic by her faith in him. And so therefore that changed him. And like that is so
good.
Cool.
That's so good.
Let's talk about story tropes too, because like you think about it, in European mythology, so much is like, oh, the fairies are going to steal the children, right? And like and like a lot of that, of course, was to, I think, comfort parents around the high mortality rate of kids. It's like your kid didn't die. The fairies actually found your kid and found them so beautiful and wonderful that took them away. It's super tragic and sad, but like that's the idea, is that the fairies were always drawn to little kids. And so, of course, this archfey is going to be drawn to this little mischievous kid. And like it's just this cool, I just love it. And like, I love the fact that Jester is so open and loving and accepting of others.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost, I think like the worst thing that somebody could do is disappoint Jester.
It'd be rough to watch. And because they're all such amazing actors, they would play it so well. And that would be one of the things where it would be painful to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, because if Jester's faith and trust in a person is gone, like I couldn't see it coming back. Like, but it would. Oh man, would that be some drama to watch? And so interesting. So, who's your favorite character?
Victor, the black
yes.
powder. No.
Yes.
No. Okay. Victor is a black powder salesman in the city of Vasselheim. It's where No Mercy Percy would go and get the black powder that he needs to be able to create his ammunition for his guns. Which the fact that Matt allowed gunslingers and the firearms into the game is great. Just it shows people you can open doors. You don't have to be limited to what's in the book. You can create your own stuff. Homebrew is so much fun. No, my favorite character. There's a couple of things that there's so many good characters. Crap. I get so much joy from Scanlan in general.
Yes.
Scanlan's just a ball of joy. It's a lot of fun. The talent that's there in San Regal is great to watch. Him him being able to just whip out the songs and how quick he is. Like coming out with things and moving things and getting things going is a joy to watch. Grog might be one of my favorite characters too, though, because Travis Willingham is again a fantastic actor.
Oh my God, amazing!
And that deep, guttural, growly Grog voice is just so much fun to listen to, and because he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. All the little missteps and all the little hiccups and bidet.
Oh my God.
Stuff like that is what is like every time.
A bit of fan art that actually brought me like choked up and almost crying was someone's Grog, and I actually don't know if it made it in this. I'll have to try to find it, and I'll put a link in the Discord if I can't show it on here,
I mean,
as I don't think it's in here because it
it's
wasn't fancy.
it's another one of those great things about the character development and how good of writers these people are. That Grog is this giant, massive mountain of a creature. He's nothing but just sinew and muscle and just rage. And
Yeah,
he's a barbarian. He's a berserker. He just tears things apart. He's the splatter device. He just gets thrown into the middle and he makes puddles. That's what Grog does.
yeah.
But he's also he's like, you see the little moments of him and Pike.
Oh,
And how delicate he is. And how sweet he is. And it's just amazing. And it's that dichotomy. It's like the two sides of the coin that couldn't be more different from each other. But it's such good writing. Because there's this sweet,
beautiful. And that was, yeah. No, my favorite bit of fan art, it's not in the books, unfortunately. It was just like a black and white sketch that someone did, which was my wishes for Grog. A big scaly pet. And it should Grog with some sort of drake or something that he's rubbing the belly of. Getting old and having like wrinkly tattoos or something along those lines. But then the last one was, and lots of teeny tiny flower crowns. Yeah, right? I was like so sweet. I even choke up now thinking of it. It was just
cute.
like, oh,
That's
because Pike and Scanlan got married and had kids, and so like he be like the idea of like Grog, this basically half giant, holding a gnome baby that would probably fit in the palm of his hand.
Yeah, he's just kind of like burping him.
Yeah,
burping the baby.
Like it was just so sweet. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he's Grog. Grog is absolutely one of my favorite characters, and it's all to do with how the players play him. I mean, there's nothing overly special about a Goliath barbarian.
Yeah.
It's not breaking boundaries. It's not changing the way the game's played. Using the system that they use, where they did the standard array. So one of the choices that they had in writing up the characters, Matt says, let's use standard array. That way you have to have one stat that's not going to be. You can't roll all 18.
No, they rolled stats because Grog's intelligence was only 6.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was 8.
No, it was 6.
Okay. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that was like one of the funny things they played because like a couple times he was polymorphed into an eagle and his intelligence was higher as an eagle.
I remember that. Oh gosh.
No, but like, and that's like, they do such a good job of that, of like leaning into those bad scores.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's so wonderful with that. No, like, no, it is great, and it goes to show like even the simplest character, like as far as like Goliath Barbarian, again, like that's not inventive, that's not like breaking any boundaries, right? But like it was such a meaningful character, and I do have to say too, Grog probably had the best dice moments in campaign 1.
Oh, you couldn't script it any better.
No, like when he when the Fomorian drank all of the ale in his cask and Grog went into a rage.
That's early. That's like episode 4 of campaign 1 or something. Yeah.
And he goes into a rage and he
headbutts him. Yeah.
Yeah. And earns the respect of a giant, like, because he got a crit on that. And then like when they were doing the fight against Kevdak, right? And he was in the Pokeball necklace and came out and like got the crit, and like, oh my god, it's really interesting how like the dice tell this amazing story, and like that there's this rule of cool, and I love how Matt leans into that. Like, I know some DMs are very adversarial with their players, of like, it's me against you, and like certainly Matt does that sometimes, where he's like, this is a smart character, they're gonna try to outsmart you all, but then he also lets the players have the rule of cool. that if they have an idea, they have something cool that they're trying, he lets them try it.
Sure.
Like like Scanlan and Vex going inside the black dragon.
Oh no, yeah, Vax. Yeah, the Vaxeldon. Yeah, he took the mini potion, and then
Yep.
he's like this.
Yeah, so stabbing the dragon from the inside and using the immovable rod inside the dragon. Like that's
The immovable rod bit was good. I enjoyed
yeah.
that. I'm like, oh, that's smart. That's
Yeah,
fun.
it was so fun and just kind of that stuff and just kind of rolling with it and going, okay, let's see how this works. And
Yeah.
like the face journeys and things, but like just I have a very, very hard time holding stuff back from my players when I DM because like I'll have ideas for them and be like, yeah, I can't wait till you all get to this thing and this is gonna be so exciting. And like I can't imagine for Matt because his wife is one of his players, so he can't
Yeah.
even talk about it with her.
Um,
But like
when you said before that about being adversarial, that's kind of what I was getting at before when I talked about I want my characters to be heroic. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I very much I do not have an adversarial mindset when I DM. I throw
Mhm.
challenging things at my characters, and I'll play the characters, the bad guys and the NPCs as they would be. But I give the players every opportunity that I can to tell a good story. And if you have a good
Yeah.
idea, if you have a good idea and it may be a little outside the scope of the rules, whatever, like you said, rule of cool, I'm all about that. If you have a cool idea, let's try it. You can
Yeah.
absolutely, you can try it. You can try it. You can absolutely try. You know,
Yep.
like Matt always says, you can certainly try.
Yeah.
I will let anything go if it's something that's good for the story. Do it absolutely. This will be fun. You
Yep.
know.
Yeah, it's like lean into that stuff and just see
Yeah.
where it goes. So wonderful. And like that's where the story can take you in these amazing random directions that you just don't expect. And like it is so much fun. And I enjoy the heck out of that kind of stuff. And that's also just the fun of seeing those things and how they use them and what kind of plans they come up with and all of that. It's just really interesting.
I've got. You can't see this right now, but I'm currently draw. I've got Vex and Vax like back to back.
Oh, nice.
In this thing here, and they're back to back as they should be. I'm gonna have Percy kind of straight up in the front, just drawing
Oh
on
yeah.
someone. I don't even know who's going to be in front of them. Like my idea was to have them kind of paired off with the members of the Mighty Nine. You know, have Yasha and Grog paired up. Have I don't know, Not and Scanlan maybe paired up.
Well, not in Vex because they're both the
Yeah,
rogues.
yeah.
Now, are you gonna do Not or are you gonna do Veth?
See, that was a question. I don't know.
Ooh, I have an idea for
I
you.
don't know.
I'm gonna make it complicated though, right?
Okay.
Veth, but her shadow's not.
Oh yeah, yeah. That could be good. Trying to think of where I can put. You know, it'd be fun actually because I could have Veth actually right up next to Pike, and because Pike's got this fist of radiant energy, it could be casting this huge amount of light, and that could create the shadow behind Veth.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That could be fun. That could be fun. I can make that
Yeah,
happen.
I've been really enjoying campaign 2, seeing all of the different things that they're doing with magic, and like the spell to change somebody's species or a term I heard is origin.
Um,
I still lean towards species, but
I feel bad for the people that came into season 2 or campaign 2, and that's what they know. Because I've talked with a few people and they've said they've tried to go back and watch campaign 1 and they just can't. It's just like because the very beginning of campaign 1 it was rough. I mean
it was really rough. The audio wasn't great.
the
Yeah.
audio wasn't great. The production value was a little bit less. I mean the production value now is fantastic.
Yeah.
You can't be happier than with what they're doing now. It's amazing. Um, but I feel bad because they're missing out on more amazing stories from these players and from Matt that
Hmm. When I tell people to watch Campaign One, I usually tell them to start around whatever the start of the Briarwood is. So it's like 21 or 22.
yeah, it's
So
after Craghammer. It's after they fight Kavarn. I think it's right before they go to put the horn in Vasselheim. They have a dinner and the Briarwoods
yeah,
are brought up. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
So
something
like
like
right
that.
around then, that because that's about when they started doing better miking on all the players
Yeah.
and got everything kind of set up a little bit better, I
The
think. And
first 20 episodes, they weren't sure if they were still going to be doing it the next week.
yeah, yeah, it was very like we don't know what we're doing. People are watching us play D&D. This is weird. And then after about 20, like when they're getting more and more and more people watching and more fan art coming in, is sort of like, okay, I guess this is a thing and let's go. Um, it's just incredible,
Yeah.
and like like they have all the sponsorships now and like there were billboards in LA for a D&D show.
That's
Like
crazy.
it's so amazing to think about. And like it was really funny because we for the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, we got to rent out a theater and we were in the lobby of the theater back in the before days when you could walk around without masks and actually gather in public places and eat communal food.
Back when you could go to a theater.
Yeah, but there was advertising in the lobby for oh gosh, I'm not going to remember the special. But they did D&D on stage on a theater. It was uh, is it Deborah Ann Wool is her name? She was the DM.
Okay. Was it
Satine was one of the
was it for like Stream of Many Eyes or something like that?
No, it wasn't for Stream of Many Eyes. They were raising money for autism, but Matthew
Okay.
Lillard was one of the players. Satine was one of the players. Who else? I can't remember. I can think of the other shows that these like one of the guys who was in one of the seasons of Dread was on it. TJ Storm was a player on it, which oh my gosh, if you have not seen TJ Storm play D&D, please go watch him play D&D. Oh my God. I was very honored. Satine actually had me come out and be on GM tips with her.
Oh
And then I got to
wow.
go and do GM tips live. So I actually got to meet Matt Mercer at GM tips live. And I had to sit next to TJ Storm and
I didn't even know that
ah
you did that. That's awesome.
yeah. Oh my God. It was so much fun. But since Alpha went away, I think the episode's just lost forever now. But it was a great time. And like it was so fun though to sit down and to talk with all these amazing dungeon masters and to hear their ways of doing things and what they do and like just so many people with so much positive energy and just joy for playing a game.
Sure.
It's so much fun.
All right, so we've only got about 3 more minutes left for today.
Ah,
For today, and we didn't get
for
anything.
today.
We didn't get anything done on the art. This is going to be one of those sessions where one of those pieces. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a big, massive one, and it's going to be awesome when it's done. But that just means we need to talk about Critical Role more.
We're gonna have to talk about Critical Role more. Oh no,
That's
so
that's
sad.
really that's what it is. That's what's coming down to. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to come back and listen to us rant and rave about an online
Oh,
internet D&D
you know
game.
what? Next time,
Yeah.
can we do like co-art? I'll paint one of the Critical Role minis while you're
Oh,
drawing
absolutely.
the work.
Oh, sure.
I think that would be super fun.
Absolutely. I'm totally down for that. That'd be great.
You can see me bad mini painting because I don't do a good job at it, but I have a lot of fun.
You know, I as a D&D player, I love the idea of minis. I love the idea
Hmm.
of having terrain and stuff like that. Like I have a battle map that I use, the Weta Race battle map. But I have these little gem tokens that are different colors that I use because I can't do it. I can't spend the money and the time on minis and doing stuff. I've
I,
not been able to do it.
so I said the same thing, Randy. Like that was me. Like I invested in a bunch of like packaged minis and stuff for games and like
Yeah.
I use when I was able to run live therapy games, I use them all the time. I have them very organized. Um, I'm a person who I always need to feel productive, air quotes around that. And so, like, painting minis has been a way for me to be creative and to have fun, but I also can have on stuff in the background. Like, painting minis was how I watched The Crown, which is a
Okay.
great series. Oh my God, watch it. It's also how I've watched Anne with an E. Like, there's a lot of shows that I've wanted to watch that I just don't give myself time to. And if it was just me sitting on the couch just watching the show, I wouldn't watch it. And so when I paint minis, it's a really wonderful way for me to engage in creativity, but also like take care of myself in terms of like watching a show I really would enjoy.
Sure.
Um, and like also watching Critical Role is a great thing to do while you paint minis.
Why you paint minis?
Yeah, because you don't
I'm
need to have your eyeballs on the screen the whole time.
no. I in all honesty, when I go back from time to time and I re-listen to the podcasts, just because I enjoy the stories, and there are times when I'm mowing the lawn or when I'm doing other menial tasks where it'd be nice to have something going on. We're out of time, so. Dr. Megan Connell, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This has been a blast. Please tell everyone where they can find you on the interwebs.
You can find me on Twitter at MeganCyD. I am also actively on the Geeks Like Us Discord server. Randy's on there too.
Yeah.
And we talk about this stuff. And so I chat with people on there. I love talking about tabletop games. Currently talking about my disappointment with the latest Villainous game. It's for Marvel. I'm hoping a second playthrough it's a little bit better, but we'll see. The Disney Villains game. That one's top notch. Love that game. But yeah, come talk about tabletop stuff with me, or chat with me on Twitter. I'm there too much.
Yeah, more than we should be. Everyone, thanks so much for being here. I'm Randall Hampton. Again, I'm the author and illustrator of the Little Game Master series of books. Second book is out now. It's available. You can go to my website, randallhamptonart.com. You can pick it up there. If you want to interact with me, you can jump over to our Discord. We're all active there, hanging out, having a good time. You can find me on Twitter at Randall_Hampton. Or you can find me on, if I'm not here, on Geeks Like Us, on every other Friday. You can find me over on my own channel, just Randall_Hampton. So thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. We love talking about these things. We're passionate about our geekiness, and we're so glad that you could come and spend the time with us and share that passion with us. Megan, once again, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Bye.